Hello everyone, welcome to yet another day on Python Bootcamp. I hope you have learned something new on day one, and let's start our journey today. And today we're gonna learn something new about selection or decision statements or rule-based statements and repetitive statements, which we commonly have known as loops. So let's talk about selection or decision control statements. So they are nothing but the statements that help to make some decisions based on certain conditions. Like given a condition is true, do this one. Given a condition is false, do this one. So here in this session, we're gonna look deep into certain decision control statements. Let's say we're gonna look at simple if statements, simple if else statements, nested if statements, etc. So let's get to simple if statement. So simple if statement has only one condition, and given the condition is being passed, we have a statement to be executed. And note guys, like once if there exist any kind of blocks or statements that follows the if statement will be executed irrespective of the condition whether it's true or false within the block. The reason here is the if block has its own influence within its block only, and once the statements other than if or statements that follows if block would be executed irrespective of the state of if. Okay, let's have some hands-on experience on how if works. Let's say like x is equal to 5, and then I'm gonna say if x is greater than 0, I'm just gonna print x is a positive number. So you all guys know how to run a program in a Python. So of course x is greater than 0, which is 5, and hence we have x is a positive number as a solution. Let me tell you, let you guys guess like what will happen to this print statement. Let's say welcome to decision making statements. Guys, on executing the statements, some of them might think it won't work, but the truth is whatever statement that comes after the if block will be executed irrespective of the condition of x, whether it's true or false, right? So let me run the program for you. X is positive and welcome to decision making statements. Let's say like if we have 10 here and 5 is not greater than 10, here the condition is false. So here you could see only the welcome statement is it's been executed, whereas the statement is not executed, and the if has its influence only within its block. So this is what I am saying, like if statement has its own limits, it has its power only or influence only within its block. So let's get back to our sessions, and now we are gonna look at yet another statement called if and else statement. You could see like we have only a statement that has been executed for if, whereas we also need something like else so that people might know what exactly had happened. Here you could see we have something telling like x is a positive number, whereas here we have no other inputs or outputs describing like what happened to that condition, right? Whether the condition is true, the condition is false, etc. So let's have the same scenario like here, like what is x greater than 0, and let's print in case the condition is false, then x is a negative number, right? So x is a negative number. On having x is equal to 5, which is greater than 0, you know, you all know like the if, it comes into if, and the if condition gets true. Once the if condition is true, it won't even look for else. The if block automatically gets out of the block. The if condition automatically gets out of the block, and the remaining statements will be executed. So let's see how things works. So here the x is positive, it having gone to the else statement, and directly the statements other than the if block is started working. If else block is started executing, right? So what happens in case we have x is equal to -5, right? So let me clear this session for you. So here we have x is a negative number, and some other statements that follows if else block is being executed. The reason here is the minus 5 which is less than 0, it is so the if condition is false, that says like it, okay, you go for else statement. So whenever there is a if and an else followed by if, the else statement is always executed when the preceding if condition is false. So here the condition is false, hence the else statement is executed. Here we have x is a negative number, and we have the other statement that following the if else block being executed. I hope you guys have a clear idea on how things works in case of if else, and what happens to the statements that are following the if else, whether it has influence or not, right? So let's move on to our next question, next statement, which is nested if statements. So nested ifs are nothing but whenever an if condition has another if hierarchy within it, then we'll be saying the statement as nested if. Let's say we have x greater than 5, x is a positive number, then also we print like, so okay, we have f x mod 2 not equal to 0, which means print x is an odd number. And we also might have else statement here, so we might be having print x is an even number, right? And in case if a statement is negative, we can't determine it as a odd or even, right? So we can say like x is a negative number, it can't be determined. So here we have a first condition, and on condition being true, the next condition is being checked, which is x mod 2 not equal to 0. Once the condition is true, the statement will be executed. In case it is false, it sees for whether there exists any else statement, and it is always not necessary to have an else statement following an if. We all know, right? The first decision statement we have encountered is a simple if without else. So it is not necessary there must be an else, but if there exists an else, then on failing a condition of if, it goes to else, and whatever statement that is in the block of else will be executed. I hope I made my point clear. So let's check how things works. So here we have x is an odd number. The reason is the x is greater than 0 and the x mod 2 is not equal to 0, and we have the x is an odd number, right? So let's check x is equal to 4, which is an even number, we all know, right? So we have x is an even number. The reason is it passes this check this if condition, and then it checks the if condition, it is false, so it goes for else and the statement is being executed. So let's check how it works for a negative one. We all know once the if condition is false, we directly check for whether there exists an else condition. Here we have an else condition, so hence we have this one, x is a negative number, it can't be determined whether it's an odd or even. And as usual I said, whatever may be the condition statement, the conditions always lie within its block. So whatever the statements that is outside its block will be executed irrespective of the condition being false or true, right? So let's move on to our next topic, which is if, elif and else statement. Whenever there exists a reason or whenever there exists a scenario where you need some kind of a ladder kind of, or whenever one is false, you need to check for yet another condition, like let's say we have more than 2 or 3 conditions, we go for if, elif and else statement. So let's have a scenario like x is equal to 5 if x is greater than 0, then okay, let's say like if x is less than 0, print negative and less than 0. Elif, the elif statements always has a condition whereas else condition we won't have any condition, right? So let me clear this for you guys once I complete this whole hierarchy. So when x is less than 2, let's print x is less than 2. I also like to have yet another condition. If x less than 3, print x is less than 3. So let's have yet another statement. If x double equal to 5, print x is equal to 5, else print can't determine. So in case of if-elif-else ladder, this is how things works. So first is checks the first condition. On being true, the whole block is being skipped, and the statement under the if will be executed. In case the statement is false, it goes for next elif statement and checks the condition. So here you could see the else won't have any condition because it's the last part of the condition, or it's like worst case where none of the condition is getting true, where you don't have any other condition to make a decision, right? So the other elif conditions or like if conditions, the only difference is like it will be executed only in case of preceding if or elif conditions being false. Let's make the point again more clear. Here when if statement is false, the elif statement of x less than 2 will be executed, and only the elif statement of x less than 3 will be executed in case the above conditions are false. So it must be less than 0, it must be less than 2. In that case only the elif will be checked, and this checking goes on unless the else statement is reached, where there exists no other condition to check, and the above preceding conditions are being false, the else condition will be run or executed. So let's check that. Let me clear this for you. Okay. So here the x is equal to 5. The reason is the first x less than 0 is false, and then it goes for x less than 2, it's false, like x less than 3, it's false, x double equal to 5, of course it's true. And let's have like x is equal to 15. Here on running we'll be having can't be determined. The reason is it goes for the else statement as the preceding all conditions are false, right? So let's have 1. So it must be having it must be executing x is less than 2. The reason is it is not less than 0, so this condition is false. It is less than 2, hence this condition is true, and the whole block is being skipped by executing this statement. So I hope that I made the point more clear, guys. Okay. How about we have learned more about like integers, right? Like how things works, for how if conditions or if conditions or nested if conditions works for an integer data type. Let's have an string, or let's take a list first of all. Like let's have a list as 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So first of all, there is a function, an inbuilt function, to find what is the length of a list variable. So let's take y as a length of x variable. So len of x. So let's first of all print y to know what is the length of y. So the length is 5, right? So there we have learned about identity operators, right? The membership operators, identity operators, right? So let's bring in some of the concepts like we have learned in yesterday's sessions or day 1 sessions, right? So how about if 1 in x, print 1 is present. Okay, this is a simple example of having a membership operator and also using a condition to check whether there exists and to have an output, like if one is present, that this is the output my preserved audience or my end users gonna have it. So let's have a look at how things works. Of course, one is present. Let's say like okay, how about let me have a z value. So z, let it be 2, and let z be here, and let's have an scenario of if and else. So print, and whenever guys if you want any kind of variables values to be reflected inside a print statement, you can always use flower brackets, and the condition or a statement, the statement not condition, or the statement that need to be following it, and have a dot and then use format and declare the variable right there. So let's have this same print statement in if2. Okay, let's run it. Here you could see we have learned something new right here, right? Right. So here you know how to declare or how to have a dynamic print statement with respect to a variable. So this is how you have a set brackets, you have a dot at the end of the string, and you have a key called format. Within parentheses you will be having an z, right? So here having a value of z to be 2, of course it is not in x, so the condition is false. It looks for whether there exists an else statement, of course it is, and let's have like is absent in the list. It's sorry guys, is present in the list. So now the condition makes sense, it makes some sense. Of course 2 is absent in the list, guys. I hope I made my point clear. And now how about like checking having an if-elif statement, or how about having a nested if statement, right? So upon finding the value to be present in z, how about checking whether it's an odd or even number? So we all know the condition for odd or even is like the modulus of 2 not equal to 0 means it's an odd number, right? So we print like print is present in the list and it is an odd number, and we also gonna have an else statement right here. Of course it is present in the list, but it is an even number. Okay, let's check how things works. Oops, 2 is absent in the list, of course it is. Let's check for 8, right? Now it is present inside the list, and we also look for whether z modulus 2 not equal to 0. Of course it is not, hence we go for else statement. In else statement it is says like it is present in the list and it is an even number. I hope it makes sense. You all might have a doubt, like we have already learned what a nested if condition is and why we are having yet another example, right? So earlier we have dealt with an int data type, whereas now we have dealt with an list data type. Let's take yet another scenario of if and elif statement. So it would be more clear for you guys. Like consider if let's have y is equal to x of 2. So guys, like in case of this, we all know this is how the place conditions work, like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Let me comment this for you guys. So actually printing y, it will be making more sense for you. Let me clear this session quick. Yeah, so the place 2 has the value 6, right? So let's say like if y less than 5, then print y is less than 5, or elif y double equal to 6, print y is equal to 6, else print can't determine. So let's run. It will be telling y is equal to 6. The reason is we all know like the x of 2 is 6, and this is how things works. And let's have x of 0, right? It must be telling y is less than 5. The reason it haven't gone to the further blocks is that the condition of y is less than 5 itself is true. Thereby they haven't the condition didn't give chance for elif or else. Whereas in case of having x is equal to 4, which falsifies both the conditions of if and elif, leading to directly to the else statement. So hence it says I can't determine, right? So this is how an if elif else statement works for a list data type. Let's take a final look on how this whole things works for a string, right? Let's say our task is to find whether a statement is an empty statement or it has something in it, right? Let's assume this scenario. So we all know we have a length function, which is a built-in function that displays what is the number of characters or what is the length of the string or a list, etc. It's used in many scenarios. So let's print the length of the variable x, and it is 8. Like, let me clear this thing for you. And whenever a statement is empty, probably the length must be equal to 0, right? So let me have, like, when y is double equal to 0, let me print it is an empty statement. Else, let's use the format, guys. The length of the statement is set brackets dot format of y. Okay, so the reason why the length statement is running is like the condition is false, and obviously it moves checks for whether there exists an else statement. Of course there exists. So as the preceding condition is false, it goes for else and the statement is executed. Let's take an empty statement, right? Of course it is an empty statement. The length is 0. Here we have printed the y, right? So that's the reason it's displaying 0. I hope I made the point clear, and I also made how given various examples or various combinations of data types along with if, elif and else statements, and simple if and elif and simp if else statements, right? I hope I made the concepts more clear. And if you guys have any doubts, don't forget to comment so that we'll be happy to address the issue. And let's move on to our next topic. We have covered what a decision statement is and how we make decisions based on certain conditions. And here we're gonna look at repetitive or loop conditions. Like, these are conditions that need to be repeated until a certain conditions. These are statements that has to be repeated until and the condition is achieved, right? So basically in Python we have two statements like for loop and while loop. And note guys, indentation is the very important key for these statements. If you guys miss kind of indentation, it might ruin the whole process, right? So be cautious about the indentation that you're about to give for the statements, and whatever the statements that is being indented under the block of loop will be executed repeatedly until a certain condition is achieved, and whatever the statement that is outside the block of the loop will be executed once the condition is achieved, right? I think I made my point clear. Let's check on it on like different statements. Like this is how a for loop looks like, and this is how the syntax is for a variable in range of start, like what is the starting point, what is the ending point, and step. And most probably the default value for step is 1. And let's have some hands-on experience on how to use a for statement. Okay, let's guess for I in range of 1 to 10, print I. Yeah, here you could see from for the loop has printed again and again until the I value is 10, right? So so guys, it is not necessarily like we should always have I. It shall be number, and whatever that is there should be here, like it must be here in this scenario, right? Here you could see it is the same answer. And let me give you a simple way to let's take a scenario, right? You are asked to find every odd number between, let's say, range of 1 to 25, and a simple way to print all the odd numbers of between 1 to 25 is like simply adding a step function in a for loop. So let's see how things works. Let me clear this for you, and here we go. So here you could see 1 3 5 7 9 11 13 15 17 19 21 23. Here you could find the gist, right? So whenever you're adding a step function, it just skips 2 steps, and then the third one will be printed. So this is how things works. So this is one of the simplest scenario to print a range of odd numbers. So of course it can be done for even numbers too. Let's say it's 0 to 25. You could have 0 2 4 6 8 10 and so and so. So this is how we can use a step function, a start and end. And regarding end function, it is like a 25 will not always be included here in this odd scenario. You could see like it stopped at 23. The reason is whenever if the number reaches 25, we say it to stop. That's how the for loop works, right? I hope I made my point clear. And let's take of what are the other statements. Like of course next we are going to look at while loop. So before while loop, here we have like it is been iterated again and again. It is automatically iterated, whereas in some cases we need to iterate on our own. Let's say like if I is equal to 0 while I is less than 5, let's say print I and I plus equal to 1. And guys, if you remember, this is one of the assignment operator, and this is a relational operator. I hope you guys can map the things which we have learned yesterday or the day 1. So let me print this one. So let me clear this for you really quick. So let's print this one. So here you could have 0 1 2 3 4, right? And the condition is being printed unless we have the value as 5. So what happens in case I'm just forget to indent I plus equal to 1? It will be forming an infinite loop. The reason is the I is always 0 and why I is less than 5, it's always true, and it keep on being executed again and again. So and you could see, right, we need to interrupt the terminal in order to get things. We need to, for interrupting, guys, like this is one of the key things you might be learning today. You must use Control plus C to interrupt a terminal. Okay, this is what happens when you forget to indent a condition to finalize a loop, or this is how, like, you guys know the scenario, right? So here the value of I is always 0 and is always less than 5, and we have never incremented it, and because of that the loop gets on or kept on executing on itself. So this is what it happens when you this is one of the scenarios that happens when you forget to drop a condition, or when you forget indentation in a loop. Okay, so let's take the same scenario, like having a simple list of, or printing a simple list of odd numbers or even numbers between 1 to 25, right? So let's start with an even number. So here it is. So we are saying I need to have like less than, before 25, what are the list of numbers, and I start with 0, and every time when after printing I'm just incrementing it with 2. So I'm just going to print it. Of course it is 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 25. So by just turning I is equal to 1, the starting point, I'm just going to have a list of odd numbers. So this is one of the scenarios, or this is one of the way how we can use a while statement, right? And next we're gonna look at a very important special statements that we often use within a for loop or a while loop, which are break, continue, and pass. And first of all, we just deal with break. So break statement is something we need to interrupt a block or a loop to say, hey, stop the iteration, I just got my answers, right? So let's say we have let's take a for loop for this, like for this example, like for I in range of 1 to 10. Like let's say I'm just looking for number 7, and I want to print number up whenever it reaches 7. I just want to stop the loop, and I just want to have a I values before 7, and I don't want to loop again until the end. Okay, so this might be seeming like okay, it's just 10, it won't matter, like where we have just 3 more iterations to go, right? But whenever we have a larger range, like tens or 10 lakhs or millions, it is always good to stop in certain scenarios. If you want to stop when a certain condition is achieved, in such scenarios we use break statements. I hope I made my point clear. It is not necessary like we need to run all the iterations to have a break statement, or to have to achieve our goal. It is also there are also chances to stop the iteration whenever we find like okay, this is my saturation point, or this is the point where I get the answer. I don't want the rest of the iteration to be run. So let's take let's have a print of I, and let's say if I double equal to 7, I just want to break. Okay, so I just want to print things whatever is before 7. So this is how things works. Let me clear the session for you, and I'm just gonna run it. So guys, here you see whenever the statement is reached 7, after that it is iterated to 8, and when it's iterated, we found like okay, this is it. So we have reached. So in case you don't want this 7 to be printed, so all you need to do is to have the if print statement after if. Okay, so let's run this again. So here you could see the value 8 times after the value 6. Once the value is iterated to 7, it's take okay, it's 7, and the system got break. So this is how a break statement works. And what if a scenario is like, okay, I just don't want to run the iteration for this particular value, whereas I want the iteration to be continued for rest of the values. Let's take yet another scenario. Let's say I mod 2 double equal to 0. So I mod 2 double equal to 0, guys. What it will do, it says it's nothing but an even number. So I'm just saying, whenever you find an even number, you just continue and then don't print anything. Okay, I hope I made my point clear. So let's start this. So here you could see 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9. So guys, whenever you find like when one it comes in, it is not an even number, the iteration will be the for loop will be continued till we are having the print statement. Whereas when it comes into when it comes to 2, the condition is true and it goes for okay, it's a continuous statement, so I will be skipping this part. So skipping in the sense it won't even execute the blocks after this statements like or the statement that is followed after the continue in the iteration part or the loop part. So here you can see it all comes under the loop sector or the for loop sector, so for loop blocks. So the continuous the statements that is after the continuous statement is true will not be executed, whereas the iteration will be continued to I is equal to 3, which is not equal to 0, and the continuous statement will not be worked as if it's false, and we'll be printing the I value. So this is how a continuous statement works, right? So that's it, guys. Like if statements is nothing but like whenever you have an empty function is like you have a function which you need not want have an empty function, like let's have a function, right? You don't worry, guys, like if you don't know about what function is, we'll be dealing with that later. Let's say you have a sum function returning 1 plus 3. So whenever you print sum, you'll be having, so let me clear this session for you, you'll be having 4. Okay, guys, but how about I'm just thought of having a difference, but I guess like I am not having any kind of requirement right now, right? So in case I'm leaving a statement as it is without any kind of statements to be have within a block of function, it will be throwing an error, indentation expected and indentation block. So or how about we are not having this one, you'll be saying like syntax error, unexpected end of file while passing. So in order to not have this error, you always have this statement called pass. So in this case, you will be initializing the function and you'll be waiting for the requirement to be followed for the function, and whatever the statements will be, it is like that follows the incomplete function. The other functionalities won't be affected by the incomplete function. That's what I'm trying to say, right? So here you could see the value is 4. In case if you are not having a pass, you all guys know what the result is. It will be saying some that kind of indentation error, thinking the Python thinks like, okay, this is a part of this function. So on having the pass statement within it, it won't be saying any kind of error. So the reason is like it is just passing the exception. So guys, so that's it for the day. I hope you have learned something new. To let's summarize, like we learned about a format statement to print dynamic values. We also learned about loop statements or repetitive statements. We also learned about the decision making statements or conditional statements or selection statements. We also learned about how to use and how and when to use a break, continue and pass. And hope you guys have learned something new. And let me meet you guys in yet another session on day 3. And if you guys have any other doubts, please let us know in the comment section. We'll be happy to address the issues. And don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to notify the bell icon. Thank you.